Before we get into today's video, I just want to take a second to thank y'all for your love and your prayers and your patience. We've had a lot going on this month. We went from a funeral directly to the hospital to hold our new grandson. I mean, it's been sickness, remodeling, a lot of things going on. So thank you for your patience and your prayers and your continued support. This video is just a few projects that we did, some thrift flips that we did, and a special project that I made for my bestie in Michigan. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, project number one is this beautiful medium-sized wooden bowl that I found at Goodwill for $2.99, but it was half off Yellow Day, so I got it for $1.50. Now, my obsession with making candles goes all the way back to, I believe it was the 5th grade when our class made candles together, and I've been obsessed ever since. So the wicks just pull right out of the bottoms of these candles. I'm not even sure where I got these, probably Goodwill, just for looks, for decorations. They're not scented, but I just put them in an old pot and melted them down. And I'm telling you, y'all, this turned out so cute. But anyways, after it melted, I just slowly, it looks fast because I fast forwarded it, but I sped it up a little bit. But you pour it in really slow, and then I just used these knives to hold the wicks in place while it dried. Then I snipped them down, and voila! Got a big, beautiful candle that's like $30 at the department stores. All right, y'all, before we go any further, this video is sponsored by Senior Lighting Company Ltd. Y'all, they sent me these 4 incredible lights for my office. I know y'all haven't seen many videos of my office. I have a tax and accounting office, and the lighting in there, you'll see here in a little bit, but it was so dim. So like when people came at nighttime to get their taxes done, it was almost like a romantic feel in there. Like it was not working for me, and I was so thankful that Senior reached out to me with this opportunity, and these lights are incredible. They are 4-foot lights, they're LED, they're daylight bulbs, like they're incredible, and you can mount them flush against the ceiling, or they also come with chains so you can hang them. And I'll show you, I did 2 flush and 2 on the chains just to show you, but they're linkable, so they plug up to each other. See, now I'm gonna have to tack it up, you know, so the cords don't hang, but those are the chains. I hung it from the chains over there so you could see. That was the easier process. We use tape to measure when we put it flat, but y'all, the difference. Okay, here's before with the lighting that we've had in here for 2 years. You know, we have a lot of lamps that we used. We had, right now it's like an indoor yard sale. We have arts and crafts coming up, but there's cubicles set up in here during tax season. And we each had our own lamp because it was so dark. And look, see how dark and dreary it is? Look at the difference. Now look how bright those are. I love it, y'all. I will put the link in the description below. I'm telling y'all, if you need any kind of lighting whatsoever, they have an Amazon store. It is incredible. I'm actually about to get some recessed lights from them also for my kitchen project. All right, so the next project it's a little cutting board in the shape of Tennessee because I live in Tennessee, and it was $2 from the thrift store. My best friend in the whole wide world, Jamie, she lives in Michigan. And when I saw this, I immediately thought of her because she has like the rustic decor, and her other friend lives in Texas, and she has a Texas board similar to this one. So I said, all right, I'm gonna do a project just for Jamie. I whitewashed it with the paint. I just kind of watered the paint down and put it on there till it was thick enough where I would like it. And then I wiped off the excess. I did, I think, like 3 coats because I made it too thin at first. But I did the back as well. I wanted this to be like a collage of some of our memories together, just so she can look up and remember me, even though she talks to me just about every day. I still wanted her to have a visual of her bestie in there. So once it dried, I actually brought it home and I printed out, I got some Mod Podge and I printed out several pictures of us and I printed them in reverse. That's one thing when you're doing the transfer. That's what I'm doing with this Mod Podge. I'm transferring the pictures. You have to print it in reverse. Same thing with the letters. So this says home is with my bestie, but I printed it in reverse. That way the letters would go on there. So I cut these out and I just kind of played around with it to see, you know, which pictures I wanted to use, where I wanted them to go. I knew it was going to be really roughed up and kind of rustic because that's kind of the theme with some of her decor. So I put Mod Podge on them. I cut them down as little as I could. I put the Mod Podge on just the ink area and then I stuck them on there real good and I let them dry overnight. So then what you do is you get a wet rag, a damp rag, I should say. You don't want it to be too wet or it'll wash the whole thing off. But when you wet the back of it, it dampens the paper and then you can just kind of rub the paper off very, very gently and the ink will stay because the ink is Mod Podged to the board. Like it's pretty awesome. Like it's way cheaper than going and paying for transfers. You can literally do it yourself with my printer at the office, I believe, is a LaserJet, but I've done this with inkjet printers as well. But then you just slowly rub the paper off and you're left with the picture and the letters. And I put the little heart over, we're in Northwest Tennessee, so I put the heart over our county. And now when I was rubbing this, some of it came off too, but that's fine because I ended up scuffing it up anyways. But it turned out pretty well. I've not done one of these in a long time. And you see how it's kind of cloudy there? That's how you know there's still paper on there. So you just kind of get it damp again and just kind of rub again and until you no longer see that cloudiness. Now, what I normally do, I normally always use chalk paint. I use white chalk paint and do a good base because it makes it just look better, but I wanted this to be kind of rustic. So there it is. I kind of scuffed it up. I scuffed it up too much in parts of it, but I took a sanding block and just really lightly sanded it just to kind of scuff it up. Then I went back with this Mod Podge. Now this Mod Podge is the glossy finish. My matte finish one is at the office. So that's why there's like the shine on it from the light. And there's Pops and Grayson. He's the cutest little grandbaby. That's what he's obsessed with doing right now. Just doing that with his tongue. But here it is, the finished product. I cannot wait to send this to her. I'm so excited. All right, the final project. This coffee table, I know y'all saw it in my living room makeover video. I paid $1 for this at the thrift store in Arizona last year. And it's solid, thick wood. I did not want to paint it at first, but now I was like, okay, that's it. I want to paint it. I want to brighten it up in here. So I just took some alabaster, the alabaster paint that I had left over from my house and painted it. And then I scuffed it up real good. And then I got these stencils. This is showing 6, but there's actually 9 stencils. I'll link them below. I got them from Amazon for like 12 or 13 bucks. They're incredible. These things are huge. But I took this antique wax that I got from Lowe's, and I didn't have my sponges. All of my arts and crafts stuff I took to the office. So all I had was this paintbrush that I dug out because I didn't want to go to the office. I said, all right, I'm going to try it with this paintbrush. So I lined the stencil up to the center. I just kind of eyeballed it. And I just really lightly stenciled in with this wax, with this antique wax, because I wanted it to look more like a stamp, I guess you could say. I didn't want it to look painted on, so I didn't want to use paint. I wanted it to be flat and smooth because I knew I was going to rough it up anyways. But with this paintbrush, I have to be careful because it was getting under the stencil. So you'll see here in a little bit, I ended up like dabbing it, like severe dry brushing, you know, just dabbing it, which is not good with carpet tunnel. I should have just stopped, went to the office and got my sponges, and it would have taken like half the time. But I didn't. So if y'all want to know, it is possible to do these with paintbrushes. So then I went to the center of the side. I just wanted to do 4, you know, around the edges. Like I tried using the paper towel to dab it in there. It didn't work out so well. I ended up just using the paintbrush, dry brushing it, and just dabbing it like straight up and down. That was the easiest way to do it, where it looked the best. And then I ended up going over the first 2 to make them a little bit darker. That way they would all kind of match before I scuffed them up. I see there, just dry brush and then dab straight up and down so it doesn't get up under the stencil, which these stencils are really thick and like they don't move, you know, like some of those thin flimsy ones do. So then afterwards I got them, you know, pretty dark, and then I took the sanding block, again, it's 120 grit, I believe, and I just really lightly sanded it just to lighten them up. See how it looks like a stamp, almost like it's part of the table? I just lightly went over them, you know, sanded it a little bit more. And then I actually took my antique wax and went around the edges of the table, the legs, you know, and the details on the side of the table. And there's the finished product. I love it, which I ended up putting some more white on there. You'll see in a second. Because there's no wrong way to do this. If you scuff up too much paint, you can always put more back on there. So then after I went and put the antique wax around the whole thing, I took some polyurethane and did just a clear coat over the top just to kind of seal it. And then I was just experimenting with different ways to decorate. There's the candle that I made. And then I thought it needed some color, so I threw 2 of my vintage coasters down there with it. And then this is a box that actually I had outside on the patio. But I brought it in just to see what it would look like. But that is it for today's video. Here's a list of other videos that we did, and we hope you have a beautiful and blessed day.